Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online. Classic Restos proudly goes to 6 countries every week, and of course one of those countries that takes the show is the United States of America. Now, we may not be able to visit there at the moment, but come with me now as we have a chat with Mark from Shannons as we reminisce around some of the early years and the trips that we have done in this week's Classic Restos on the road. Okay, with me now, Executive Manager for Marketing for Shannons, Mark Behr. How are you, Mark?
I'm good, Fletch. Thanks, Fletch. How are you?
Wonderfully well. Yes, you're the man responsible, the chief instigator of our trips to the United States, and it's really at the stage now where we really have some under our belt.
Absolutely. Very memorable experiences.
Absolutely. We go back, and a lot of these episodes, well, you know, you can search for them on the Shannons Club. So that is one good thing. The way the world is, obviously, Mark, we missed the opportunity in 2020 to go to the States, and of course this year, 2021, and well, the way it's looking, who knows for 2022. But look, you know, we've got the past episodes and the stuff that we've done, and obviously we have some inspiration for stuff to look forward to for the future. But the way it's technically ran, the way we've done these episodes traditionally, is that you've had your vacation or your holiday, and I've gone along and tagged along, and we've filmed and we've done some episodes along the way. And we've been doing this for the majority of a decade now, Mark.
Yeah, we have. There's been met a lot of people, seen a lot of cars, and put a lot of miles under our belt.
We certainly have. And speaking of which, that would have to be, that's around 50,000 miles, 80,000 kilometres to the digitally educated.
And I can remember every one of them.
I bet. Also, comprising those miles and those Ks, just a little quick run through last night. We've crossed 20 states. We've actually been, well, should I say, we've been into 20 states.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, that's one of the great things about the US, that there's such a variety. It's not like you've got miles and miles of wilderness, although there are expanses of desert and that sort of thing. But you know, it makes it quite interesting, I think, the different states and the different landscapes you see along the way.
Yeah, and that is the thing with the United States. We've got a great country here in Australia. There's lots of landscapes here too, but I think with the United States, why it's so different is the transition from state to state. Their terrains, like, you know, you can be in a green belt. You've got your mountains, and you've got your deserts, and that can go for here as well. But it seems to be a little bit more radical over there with their landscapes. It's very dramatic when you cross America, isn't it?
Yeah, and sometimes it even seems to change, you know, with the border. You know, the border, when you go across the state line, you know, you notice different landscapes, different trees, just different aspects, which I think makes the whole trip more interesting.
Yes, and of course we've had our good times as well. And of a night, you know, when tool's down at the end of the day, and you know, not necessarily the state to be in to be sober, but we've had a lot of laughs, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always good to have a rest after a long journey. You can just unwind a little bit, talk about the day that you've just had, and then what's planned for the next one.
Yeah, they're dramatic trips. They really are. They're long days. They're hard days. We're in all types of weather, and you know, when you look back and you look at the accomplishment, it's huge. Now, there's one, I guess, a group of guys that come to mind fairly early in the piece of our trips over to the United States, and it would have to be the GM Futurliner guys. And I know that these guys are very dear to your heart as well, Mark, especially when we first had the opportunity to catch up with Don.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I bought a book on the Futurliner. I always thought it was an amazing, piece of equipment, or there was a number of them made. And I saw Don Maton's name in the book, and then I sort of reached out and thought, gee, it wouldn't be good to get in touch with these guys and actually go and have a look at a Futurliner, in the flesh.
The Futurliner was an incredible episode because it was made up of a panel, or no pun intended, of or ex-panel beaters, spray painters, electricians, these retired guys, most of them veterans, and their skill, I guess from the days of when they were young men, they never lost that skill. And the workmanship, it took 7 years to restore the GM Futurliner. And if you're wondering what the Futurliner is, well, it's a huge publicity vehicle built by General Motors. And when you see this episode, if you haven't seen it before, you'd be quite surprised. It's typically American. It's the effort that they go to. They set the benchmark on most stuff. Was back in a time where they were 20, 25 years ahead of many parts of the world. They were leading in technology. But this thing took 7 years to build. It's like a big truck. Like a big van, air conditioned. It's a real bizarre thing, isn't it, Mark, when you look at it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Don Maton was one of the head managers at the Fisher Body plant for General Motors. He had a very long career with GM. And when you saw this Futurliner, I still remember, when it was sort of appeared out of the shed, drove out. It was so impressive. And even though it was 70 years old now, or however old it is, it's, still very, very impressive. And it was part of that parade of progress where General Motors went around the country, particularly to regional centres, to really showcase the technology and just how far, mankind had come.
Yeah.
It's really, really great.
And parade of progress. And that was very proudly down the side of the vehicle, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember even when they were restoring that vehicle, they had to go to Coca tyres. Remember, we caught up with Corky Coca a while ago, but they had to have the tyres specifically made for that vehicle as part of the restoration.
Yeah, and twin tyres up front too.
That's right.
eight tyres on the thing. Like for memory too, top speed was 40 miles an hour. It was 15 tonnes in weight. It had a 302 cubic inch 6-cylinder petrol engine. It was amazing, and it ran from 1940 to 1956 too. For memory, it was 16 years that they milked that vehicle, and there were only a number of them made. I think a couple of them have gone to auction exceeding $4 million, and that was around 2013. So goodness knows what the price tag would be now.
Yeah, I mean, they're an amazing vehicle. And I also remember when we were riding in the Futurliner down to, I think it was a lake where we filmed it. Because it's one thing to see the vehicle, but then to actually go for a ride in it as well. Not many people could claim to have done that. But you actually almost look down on the semi-trailers going the other way.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. There was a line in the episode too where we were driving along through some side streets, and you're level with the second story of the people's homes.
It was an amazing vehicle. It would have been a pretty surreal experience driving, seeing a whole convoy of those and driving that across America.
Yeah.
Given some of the mountainous roads would have been a bit hairy, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And it was also our opportunity to have met the late Wes Myrick, which I get emotional just saying his name, and I think that's had an impact on people, for you at home watching Classic Restos as well. There's a lot of people that have got to know Wes. We've brought Wes into a few of the episodes, and we've mentioned his name and the his famous line of happiness is a full tank of gas, and what a guy Wes was, hey?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I still miss him to this very day. In fact, it was only yesterday I was driving along thinking about him and his Buick, which still had the new tyres from the 1960s on it.
Yeah.
He was such a fantastic character, and he was very gracious to share his collection with us, and and also his family, his daughters. Were just fantastic. Yeah. The hospitality that we received, was really good.
Those original tyres on the 1960 Buick, Mark, they'd be nice going into a corner, wouldn't they?
It was hard as bricks.
They would be.
My life is hot rods, designing them, building them, and racing them. If you're into rods or customs, you'll know what I mean. It's all about passion, purity, and soul.
Customs and hot rods like the SoCal Roadster is what we do.
And insurance for cars like ours is what Shannons do.
Rods, customs, and even your daily drive. Call Shannons on 134646.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Like us.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. Welcome back. Lucky enough still to have Mark Behr from Shannons on the phone. We're going through the American trips and reminiscing some of the stuff that we've done. Mark, you're still there? Are you having fun?
I'm still here, Fletch, and absolutely enjoying it, yeah.
Isn't that wonderful? I'm glad you are. Now, look, in the first part of today's show, we were talking about the GM Futurliner, which is an incredible machine. We've just jumped a few years forward, and I've just got to mention the time, the opportunity. We were in California, and we went to Fremont, and I know straight away you'll know what we're about to talk about, and that was the fantastic bus museum where we caught up with Ron there.
Yeah, that was an amazing experience. What those guys do there in that little museum that's out of the way is amazing.
I like Ron's approach there and how he does his thing there, because they're a really nice group of guys. But Ron also just quickly gave chance to the hearing impaired. I remember the two guys there that had the hearing impediment, and he gave them an opportunity to work and help restore those buses. And looking at their work, they were precision guys. They were good tradesmen. They did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely, and the way they were very active in their communication amongst themselves as well, and they certainly got the job done.
Absolutely. Now, we looked at the first bus there in that episode. It was a blue bus, a 1945 bus, obviously by GM. And I think what was interesting too, Mark, is that General Motors played such a big part in not only making the bodies of the buses, the engines as well. The whole package was GM. But that first bus from 1945, that was a cracker of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, General Motors, at one stage was the largest company in the world, and so it's no surprise that they had their fingers in everything, including buses.
The Screaming GM engine just sounds fantastic too. I remember that it had a 4-cylinder. It was the 71 series, which has always blown me away too, because 71 series meaning 71 cubic inches per cylinder. Like that's pretty massive.
You don't need a stereo in those buses. You just want to listen to the engines. It sounds so good.
That is the music. I've often said before, Mark, someone could give me a USB stick with that sound, and I could just play that in the car and drive on down the road and listen to that for hours. The next bus that came along was a red bus. That was a 1955 transit bus. Now, what I loved about that, obviously still GM, was the air ride suspension, the first year of eliminating the leaf springs.
Yeah, I mean, some of the earlier ones, the buses, certainly the rides are fairly firm, to say the least. So I think that air suspension innovation would have been welcomed by the passengers, but also the driver.
Oh, too right, yeah. See, General Motors were... I always, even now, like when you rent the Denalis and the Escalades and the Tahoes, and even today, GM, they've got that smooth, they've got a soft ride. When you drive the Rams and the Mopar products, the Dodgers, they're a firmer ride, and even the F-Trucks. But when you get into those big SUVs, the GMs, even today, Mark, are a very smooth ride.
Yeah, they're almost like a high-riding version of what the American cars used to be back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, and isn't that an interesting point? Because the SUVs of today that people are getting around in have replaced the Statesmans, the Fairlanes, the Chrysler by Chryslers, our LTDs, all our big, long 4-door cars that we grew up with here in Australia that most of us looked at in awe and thought, wow, I wish my dad had one of those. And speaking of which, your dad had a genuine, he had the real deal, didn't he? He had a 72 American LTD?
Yeah, 72 Ford Galaxy LTD, and he had that for about 21 years, and then he sold the car, and I was pretty upset about it, but so I found out where it was and bought it back, so I've still got it today.
You know what? I might have to catch up and do a segment with you, Mark, on that car.
Sure, Fletch.
So Ron did a great job at Fremont, California, and that was a good episode of Classic Restos. And I then had an opportunity to take a bus out for a drive. Now, Mark, I can remember leading up to this episode and for listening to you for a couple of years and talking about your buses, and I know that you're into the models and things you remember as a kid, which, you know, we all are, but I can appreciate you're in a big way with this stuff, which you know, in 2021, looking at things now is fantastic. But there was one bus with all the windows in the roof. It was a Scenic Cruiser, a huge bus, possibly the biggest bus back in the day. And you got to see that at Fremont, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, that was the highlight for me. I mean, that was, you know, there was Matchbox used to make a little toy, a silver one with, you know, yellow windows in it. And I just remember thinking that was such a futuristic-looking bus. And just to be able to see one of those in real life was just fantastic. And then to top it off, we actually went for a ride in it as well. Yeah. So to me, that was the highlight of the bus museum.
Yeah, and it was being restored, wasn't it, at that time?
Yeah, they've done quite a bit of it. They were still looking for donations to finish it off, but it was, you know, it was probably about, you know, probably 90% completed. It was, and it was running and driving. It was fantastic. I think I was still fitting out the interior of it.
I just remember standing out the front and filming it coming towards those the railway gates or the railway line, and he had to go half a mile up the road to turn it around. That was a big unit.
Yeah, very nice. Well, I think was it a Raymond Loewy design? I think it was. It was a very it was an amazing looking vehicle, I thought.
Are you a motoring enthusiast? Does your current insurer understand your passion? At Shannons, we're motoring enthusiasts, just like you. We understand the passion you have for your special car or bike. But did you know that Shannons will also insure your daily drive, the car you drive every day? So if you're a motoring enthusiast, you've got to be with Shannons. So call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride. These classics are insured with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat and have a discussion for the policy and premium that might suit you best. And signing up to become a member of the Shannons Club has never been easier. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. Welcome back. Still have Mark with us, the Executive Marketing Manager from Shannons. We're having a bit of a reminisce of past trips we've done in the United States of America, and you can search for them on the Shannons Club. Mark, you're still there? You haven't gone to sleep on me?
No, I'm still here, Fletch.
Oh, that's good. You're a man of endurance. Mark, our trips just mean so much when we look back, and I think the more that we've got under our belt, the more they mean. You've been responsible for lining up some of the most interesting things over there that we've had the opportunity to go and film. We spoke earlier in today's show about Donnie and the guys that helped to restore the GM Futurliner, and in a little bit down the track we got to know Don pretty well, and we had the opportunity to go to Don's house in Michigan, and where the same guys were there in his shed, and they were restoring a 1955 Buick, the first of the V8s.
Yeah, I remember that. That was fantastic. That the chassis, I think, of it, which they'd fully restored and was up and running. And I remember we both got to drive that, and I think you lit it up on his driveway, Fletch.
Oh, we just had to. I mean, there was just no weight over the rear, and I think it would have spun the back tyres just by pulling the choke out.
It was great. It was a great experience, wasn't it?
It was, especially with the reassurance of safety too. When I was looking at the firewall and it was made of plywood.
Yeah, well, that'd save you an accident.
Do you remember that really cool caravan that was there as well that he and his wife used to tour around in?
Yeah, it had the intercom between the caravan and the vehicle. No, I don't think you meant to be riding around in a caravan while it's being towed,
Yeah.
but it had an intercom in it.
Yeah, how innovative would that have been back in the day? Goodness.
Yeah, very Art Deco looking.
Now, Mark, growing up as kids, you know, we're on the same page with lots and lots of stuff. One of those things we're on the same page with was watching the big American police cars getting flogged around in the movies back in the 70s. And I think that, you know, seeing them doing left and right hand turns and smoke rolling out of the inside rear tyres and bellowing out of the rear guards, and I guess it was the initial days of burnouts in a natural sense, where none of the nonsense of holding your foot on the brake and all that sort of stuff, but just big heavy cars with lots of power. And I think as young guys watching television in the 70s left such a big impression. The movies like Your Vanishing Point and Jewel, you know, for example, Smokey and the Bandit. You know, the list goes on of all those great cars. So having an opportunity in 2013 to go to the Michigan State Police Driving Unit. Now, it's not every day of the week you do this, Mark.
No, I remember that really well. That was a great opportunity, wasn't it? Going spinning around in the police cars with the sirens blaring, and that was a great day.
Yeah, well, that was organised through yourself, and I think through our good friend Chris Pekoski from the Bureau at Detroit as well, and in conjunction there, I think, with Chris. And wow, that was a great afternoon that we put in there. We caught up with Sergeant Mike McCarthy.
Our facility here is we use it to train all of our new incoming recruits, and then we do in-service training for existing police officers, both for our department and for other departments all across both Michigan and the country. We've actually had people from many states around the country, and even people from overseas that have come here for additional training. So this is a map of our facility. We have a 1 mile road course. You can see the numbers on it. They're the turns that we grade for apex locations and braking and acceleration points. We have a 9-acre precision pad here where we teach a serpentine maneuver, controlled braking exercises, and evasive maneuvering exercises. This is a 3-acre skid pad, which, for being in the state of Michigan, we have a lot of bad road conditions in the winter. Very representative of wet ice. So when our recruits get out here, they have a drag factor that really approximates snow-covered roads or wet ice roads.
Do you remember that mighty 4.6 litre Crown Vic, the loss of control?
Yeah, just literally like it was on ice, because they're the conditions that they have to drive in Michigan. You know, snow's there away.
Now search for this episode on the Shannons Club, because when you watch that Crown Vic go full pelt into the wet and it spins around, it's just like a scene off a movie. Well, getting back to those movies, you know. And Mike then bringing out the 75 Plymouth Grand Fury, would it have been a Grand Fury?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
440 in it, but I remember him sitting in it. There was, because I do remember filming through the back door, and him turning around to his right and looking towards the back door, smiling as he gave it a rev. And I just thought to myself, here we go, we've got a guy high up in the cops here, but there's still that young person in all of us when it comes to these old cars.
Yeah, fantastic.
Mark, as always, it's been wonderful catching up with you, and I really look forward to the next opportunity to have you back on Classic Restos as we go through some more stuff that we've done in the United States.
Thanks, Fletch, and I also can't wait to actually get over there in person.
I know. It means a lot to us. I'm sure it means a lot to a lot of people watching at home. It's not just the United States. I guess it's people with friends and relatives in many parts of the world, but the United States to us with Classic Restos and the people that we know, the people we meet, it's those associations. And when you keep seeing those people year after year, that association just gets stronger and stronger. And of course, we've mentioned Murray Park, our good friend, many times on the show before. But anyway, there'll be room down the track to mention Murray again, no doubt.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, Fletch.
Okay. Thanks again, Mark.
Thanks, Fletch.
You're welcome. Well, I hope you've really enjoyed this week's episode of Classic Restos. Some of the missions that we have undertaken, some of the fantastic people that we have met, and some of the incredible places that we have visited so far in the United States of America. And I'm sure you'll see a part 2 of this down the track on Classic Restos. No matter where you're watching the show from, until next week, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching.
You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.